Hello everyone, this is Phonics, and today I thought I would go ahead and discuss my favorite Mario spin-off series, being Luigi's Mansion. Now, I will say I do enjoy, other spin-off series like Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi, but Luigi's Mansion has always been that spin-off series that just has been the most interesting and the one I've continued to play over and over again. So today I thought I'd go over through each game and discuss my experiences with that game. So let's get started. Starting with the first Luigi's Mansion, released in 2001 for the Nintendo GameCube. I loved pretty much everything about this game. I got the game in about 2013 for my backwards compatible Nintendo Wii, and I loved the game. I completed it within a couple of days. One of the only real gripes I have with this game is that it is way too short. Even now, I can complete this game in about, let's say, an hour and 45 minutes, maybe 2 hours if I'm not trying as much. And overall, I just think it's a very short game, and they could have definitely made it a longer game. But overall, for what they did with the little time that the game has, I loved every second going through this game. I loved the portrait ghosts with their different personalities. I loved the I loved everything pretty much about this game. I loved the boss ghosts, the portrait ghosts, the different characters, everything. I also thought it was an interesting idea to have all the money to collect. There's coins, dollars, gold bars, gems, different types of forms of money to collect. And, overall, I also love the soundtrack. The soundtrack of this game is very good, and overall, I love pretty much everything about this game. So now I'm going to discuss what the story was for the game. So the story basically goes like this. Luigi has won a mansion in a contest that he has never entered, and Mario and Luigi decide to meet up with each other. But when Luigi arrives at the location of the mansion, it seems very suspicious. It's in a very, how do you put it, gloomy area, gloomy interior, gloomy exterior. And when he goes inside, he can't find Mario anywhere, but he finds a little orange ball floating around. And the orange ball drops a key and goes into a room, and Luigi enters the room, which is the foyer, and he encounters a ghost. And that is when Luigi meets a new character named Professor Egad, who they both make a promise to each other that Egad will help Luigi get his brother back if Luigi gets the ghost back, and help Egad get the ghost back into the paintings. And overall, that's pretty much the basic premise. You're going through the entire mansion. It's one big mansion, whereas other games, there was a game that had multiple. We'll get into that later. But you're going through, there's 4 total areas in the game. There's area 1 where you encounter Chauncey as the boss ghost. There's area 2 where you have Bogmire. Area 3 where you have Boo Lossus, and you have King Boo in the final area. And yeah, overall, it's a pretty basic story, but it's good. It's good for the first game of the series. And there's one character in particular that I love about the game, and that is Madame Clairvoyant. And you encounter her pretty much you can encounter her in area 2. So you can encounter her pretty early, actually, but overall, you give her different items of Mario, and then you give them to her, and then she gives you some backstory on like gives you backstory, just some more story on the characters, where Mario is, and you know, all of that such. And I loved the fact that you could go into I just love the ideas in this game, and how there are blue ghosts called speedy spirits that will also give you money. That's another form of way to get money. And then there's golden mice that you scan a piece of cheese, or they appear randomly in the hallway or a room. And then there's the giant gems. You get one by collecting all the 50 boos, and you get one by watering a plant in each beginning, starting from area 2 up to area 4 to get the giant gem. And there are boos in this game. The boos I thought were a very nice inclusion. I thought that the way you capture them was pretty decent for the first game. It did get better as the series went throughout, but overall, there's 50 of them, and the more you progress throughout the game, the more health that the boosts have. Like, I think in area 4, boosts can have up to like 300 health, and in the hidden mansion, the PAL hidden mansion, because there's a different version after you complete the game. You get the hidden mansion, and the hidden mansion, the boosts can have 450, 500 health, and the European version of the game with the hidden mansion, as opposed to the American and the Japan version, which didn't have much changes going for it. And yeah, I loved the fact that you could pretty much explore wherever you wanted at first. Well, in a sense you could. There was still, the process of having to obtain keys and then go to the next door. But there's this sense of exploration where you don't know immediately where to go if it's your first time playing, obviously, and you're going through trying to figure out which door goes to where. And there are puzzles throughout the game, and some of them are utilized through elements. And this is something that I don't know why they haven't implemented in the other games, but they have elements. There's 3 of them. There's fire, water, and ice. And the fire you of course use to ignite candles, for example. The water, you can put out fire, and then the ice can be used to freeze water or other water attributes. And some ghosts will actually have the elemental abilities. Some will have summer and fire, you have to put them out with water. Some have water, you need to freeze them, so you get ice, things of that sort. And I don't know why they haven't implemented in the other games in the series. They just did it for this game, and then they never tried again. It's pretty unfortunate, since I thought it was a very cool idea to have. And overall, there are many different types of ghosts in this game. There is the standard orange ghost, the tall skinny purple ghost, the fat blue ghost that you don't encounter until the end of area 3 pretty much, and there's the boos, and then there's the grabbing ghosts and the green ghost that throws banana peels. And those are pretty much the main ghost lineup as far as basic enemies go. You can think of them as Goombas or Koopas. And overall, I thought that the ghosts were very well thought in this game compared to Luigi's Mansion 3 and Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. They are very different in contrast, due to the fact that these sequels are more focused with a lot of slapstick comedy, whereas this one I think has the greatest atmosphere, with the way everything has dust on it, with the way the lighting is. Everything just captures great. And there's an infamous moment in this game. If you played it, you definitely know what it is. But it is the start of Area 4 with the blackout, where everything goes dark. You don't know, you can't see much well. And There's also quote unquote, it's not a Easter egg, but it's just a lighting glitch, but people were making conspiracies that Luigi was hanging himself, but it was just a lighting glitch whenever you go into the telephone room during the blackout. And you can tell it's a glitch because in the 3DS version that is not present. In the 3DS remake of the Luigi's Mansion of this game, the 3DS remake of it, there is no such lighting glitch, and it has been fixed, so therefore it is only a glitch. But it is cool to see how people were coming up with their own theories, how Luigi's in purgatory, Luigi's in a living hell, or things like that. It's just fun to see. And again, I don't know why they don't. It would be cool to see them having little glitches and stuff like that in the games of Dark Moon and 3, so that people could come up with theories such as the ones that they had for Luigi's Mansion 1. But the blackout, you can't see anything. You have to get down the cellar to turn the power back on, the breaker room, I mean. And overall, yeah, I think that pretty much it settles that. But overall, I loved the boss ghosts, especially. The boss ghosts were definitely memorable. They weren't the most difficult things in the world, but Chauncey, Bogmire, Bulasis, King Boo, even though they aren't difficult, they are all very memorable. Chauncey with the giant rocking horses and the balls that bounce everywhere, and Bogmire with his clones, Bulasis, which is pretty much just Boos clumped up together to form a giant Boo, and then of course King Boo, which has a giant Bowser. And what I loved about this is that Madame Clairvoyant actually hints about it when you give when you give her one of Mario's items, she will tell you that, how there's a form of Bowser in the mansion, but she said that Bowser's been dead or something like that. So that's another theory people have came up with, that Luigi is living in Luigi's Mansion, takes place in a different time where everybody is dead, or it's in an afterlife. And it's just cool to see that, and I love seeing stuff like that. And yeah, overall, it's just a great game. If you haven't played it, I 100% recommend, to anyone who hasn't played it, whether it's the 3DS remake, which is a disappointing remake, but I'll talk about that later, whether it's just the remake or the original on a GameCube backwards compatible Wii, or on an emulator. However you can play it, go ahead and do it like that, because this is a great Mario spin-off game. And overall, I definitely find it worth it to play. And like I said, it's not a long game at all. It's relatively short, in fact, and I just love the personality that went into this game. In my opinion, this is the Luigi's Mansion game that no other game can top when it comes to personality, when it comes to the ghosts. All the portrait ghosts have their own, personality trait to them. And I love that, and I don't understand. Luigi's Mansion 3 did kind of try this with, having its own version of the portrait ghost, but it just didn't work the same, and it wasn't the same in that aspect. And no, Dark Moon didn't even try with portrait ghosts, which was very disappointing. But I'll talk about Dark Moon in a second. But overall, they're just everything about the game is just super memorable. There's Neville, which is the first portrait ghost you capture. He reads a lot of books. There's Lydia, which is the mother of Chauncey, where she is doing her hair. And then of course there's Chauncey, which is the boss for the Area 1. There's the dancing couple. There's Shivers the butler. There's Mr. Lugs. There's Melody Pianissima. There's Spooky the dog. Bogmire. Area 3, you got Biff Atlas, which was very annoying. to capture is Miss Petunia, Nana, Slim Bang, Shy, and Norval, Madame Clairvoyant, Grimly, Clockwork Soldier, Suki, Jarvis, Sir Link, Weston, Vincent Van Ford, Bowser, and King Boo. All of them are just very memorable with their own personality traits. And, you know, like, okay, Luigi's Mansion 3 tried with it, but, like, it still wasn't on the same level as the way the first Luigi's Mansion had it. And overall, there's also a system in the game when you're capturing, you most likely know this, but if you get another form of money is in the form of pearls, and depending on the amount of health you suck up in a quick succession, you get that amount of pearls. So if you get more than 90% in one complete suction, then you obtain or complete or get. And overall, it also determines if you will get a gold portrait. There's different types of portraits that will be put in the laboratory. There's bronze, there's silver, and then there's gold. And then for the bosses, it's different it depends on the amount of time you get hit. If you get under 90 health in the fight, then you don't get a gold portrait. You have to take no more than 10 damage throughout the fight in order to obtain that gold portrait. And, you know, for me, it's pretty easy now, but when you're first playing through this game, it's like no other game, no other experience. And I think the best order to experience these games in is Luigi's Mansion GameCube, which is this first one, or the Luigi's Mansion 3DS remake if that's all you can have, or that's all you have available to you, Luigi's Mansion 3, and then Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Dark Moon is just the worst one out of all of them, but I'll talk about Dark Moon in a second. There was also said that there was going to be a 3D effects in this game. There was going to be a 3D feature in this game, but because of cost, they could not do that, but they ended up doing it with the 3DS remake. So that's cool, kind of see what the vision was for that. But overall, yeah, Luigi's Mansion 1, I would rank it out of 10. I would give it a solid, I would say 8 out of 10. It's my favorite in the series, and like I said, if you have a chance to play it, go play it. It's a blast. I loved, you know, going through the game, experiencing all the portrait goes, the area boss goes, the secret money rooms that there are in the game, you know, just going back and tracing through. You do go back quite a bit in this game to other areas, and I love that about these games as well, where you have to backtrack and kind of go back and retrace your steps and where to go next throughout your adventure in the game. So yeah, overall, that does it for the original Luigi's Mansion. Now moving on to the disappointing sequel of Dark Moon. Now for Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, this is the most forgettable in the series for me. First of all, the larger focus on slapstick comedy, the atmosphere is no longer there. It's a huge shame. The rooms are all lit up. Like, there's no point in having a flashlight in this game, which made me even more mad. Instead of having one big mansion, it's 5 mansions. And this is the thing I hated the most about Dark Moon: a mission select. I absolutely hated the mission select system in this game, and it should have never even been a part of the Luigi's Mansion franchise or series or whatnot. And it was just very disappointing and such a shame coming from the original. Like, if you played Dark Moon first and then the original, then you would probably think of Dark Moon, but even then Dark Moon is still an inferior sequel. and it's a shame because it took it 12 years for a sequel. The original came out in 2001. Dark Moon didn't even come out until 2013 on the 3DS, and I felt that a sequel should have came out sooner. And overall, it was just very lacking in that aspect. There are different puzzles in this game. There are more puzzles in this game than in the original. But overall, yeah, the music is good. The music is good. I have no problem with the music. The ghosts, they're very basic. There are no portrait ghosts at all in this game. There are the greeny ghosts, the red ghosts that get mad, the blue ghosts that hide around. They hide and try to grab you, or I forgot what they do. And then there's the dumbass dog. There's a dog in the game that you have multiple missions for, and Luigi's Mansion 3, they fixed him because he doesn't chase you anymore. But there's still chase missions in Luigi's Mansion 3 that are in a different form, but we'll get into that later, or way later I should say. But overall, just not a fun time trying to capture Polterpuff. So yeah, each level has about 5 missions, except the 4th mansion, which is snow themed, which only has like 3 missions for some reason. It only has like 3-4 missions. I don't know why. I guess they just couldn't think of another mission. The boos are very unsatisfying to capture here. You just grab on their tongue and you just fling them across the room. It's very, it can be very annoying. One thing I will say though is that I'm glad that they innovated somewhat. There's a new dark light device which showcases or reveals hidden objects. I thought that was a pretty cool idea, but overall, pretty disappointing, I might say. There's the first mansion, and I don't even remember the names if I'm being honest. I think the first one's Gloomy Manor, which the boss ghosts are okay, but like I said, they just aren't memorable. Like, okay, I can remember everything from, pretty much everything from the boss ghosts in the original. I can't tell you really anything about the boss ghosts in Dark Moon. There's the first one, which is a spider. I've forgotten a lot of the movesets. There's the second one where you're literally just running upstairs. That's pretty much the boss. You're just running upstairs. Very annoying. The third one, you're fighting. It's like a bunch of clocks. I thought that was a pretty cool idea, I guess. The fourth one, you're fighting like a snow monster and you're on a snowmobile or whatever. They got pretty creative with that one, I might say. Pretty creative boss fight idea right there. And there's the 5th and final one, and if I'm being honest, I forgot. I forgot. Pretty sure it's King Boo in the final mansion, the 5th mansion, or pretty sure it was. And then there's a big Boo fight, not King Boo, but a big Boo, and it's like a worse version of Boolossus. It's just a worse version of Boolossus. And I forgot to mention that the Boolossus fight was pretty slippery with its controls and whatnot. The Dark Moon version is just awkward, and it's not even fun. Like, a lot of the boss ghosts for me weren't even that fun, besides like the one where you're on a snowmobile. But even then, it still isn't, that great. And overall, I mean, I don't know, man. It's fine for what it was. I get the whole idea. It's on a portable system. For me, Luigi's Mansion has always been a home console game. I felt like it should have always stuck with one mansion, like in the original, and not had 5 mini mansions like in Dark Moon. I feel like they could have had one big mansion and had a mission structure. Like, it still could have worked. They could have made it work. And the biggest thing, most likely, is, or little side thing, is the Scare Scraper. And the Scare Scraper is pretty much the version of this game's co-op mode, and this is something I will give them credit for. They have a online multiplayer in this game, and they also have it for the Luigi's Mansion 3 Scarescraper. And overall, the Scarescraper was pretty fun. There's different mid-boss ghosts to fight, technically like mini bosses throughout a fight in the Scarescraper mode. And overall, they're pretty fun, I would say. Some of them are slightly annoying, but overall, I thought they are pretty fun to obtain, except there's only one big final boss at the end, which I thought was pretty lame. Same thing with Luigi's Mansion 3's one. I think that they could have implemented, when they do bring back the Scarescraper in Luigi's Mansion 4, then I definitely recommend that they do include more bosses to fight when you get up to the top floor. And there's also, more puzzles. Like I said, the elements gone. The elements are no longer in the game, which is very unfortunate. And I don't know, man. Like, it's just such a lackluster sequel. They could have done so much more with this game. This game could have been so much more. For me, I felt like Dark Moon should have just been more of the original game, but in a 3DS aspect, it could have simply just been the original, but slightly different. Keep the portrait ghosts in there. The portrait ghosts weren't in there at all. It's the same, like, 5 ghosts in the game. Oh yeah, and there's also sorry for the mix-up. The blue ghost, the blue skinny ghost, just hides and tries to play hide and seek. Very annoying. Not even cute. And then there's a purple ghost. That's the one that tries to sneak up on you and try to attack you. And you have to use the dark light device to show where they are at. And I thought that was pretty cool, a cool concept where you have to use the different aspects, the dark light device, to find where the ghosts are located. And I'm glad that they try to implement more of that in the third Luigi's Mansion. And hey, I mean, it's not all bad. There is a 3D mode, so it gives you a bit more of an idea of what the original would have looked like with the 3D aspect. And overall, yeah, man, Dark Moon has slightly grown on me over the years. Like, but when I first played it, I thought it was horrible. Like, when I first played this, I thought that it was one of the worst video games I've ever played. I thought it was the worst sequel to a game I've ever played, compared to the original. But, even though it has grown on me, I just can't deny the fact that this Dark Moon is the worst in the series. For me, in my opinion. And I'm sorry to those who like Dark Moon or big fan. I know there are Dark Moon fans out there, especially ones who this was their first game. But, coming from the original game, this just wasn't it for me. And, I'm glad they improved and listened to feedback with Luigi's Mansion 3, though. But, yeah, man, it's just... it's just not it for me. And, another thing I hate about this and why they shouldn't have done a mission structure, and if they did have the limit of a mission structure, I felt that this game should have just been on the Wii U. This was during the Wii U's life cycle. It released in 2013. The Wii U was already pretty much already in it after its first year, so they could have done it in that way, but instead it got pushed to the 3DS, and they had to do a mission structure. And what I hate even more is that in the original, you can go wherever you want, even after you completed the area. It's not like you can't go back to that area. In Dark Moon, in specific missions, you can't go back to those areas. It gives you like a restriction on which areas you can go to in those specific levels or missions. And I absolutely hated that and never understood why that was the case. Why do I get restricted on where I get to go? It just annoyed me so much, and I'm so glad that Luigi's Mansion 3 did not have an issue with this. Luigi's Mansion 3, you can go back wherever you want in whichever elevator level. But in Dark Moon, they were like, oh no, we have a mission structure, so we can't let them, go back to the previous level. That's like if the first game where if I'm in area 4, I can't go back to areas 3, 2, and 1. It just doesn't work. And even if it's 5 mini mansions, that doesn't give an excuse because they're more smaller mansions. I should be able to go wherever I want. Compared to the original, which was one big mansion. In Dark Moon, they're small mansions. So there should be no issues with that process. I will give credit though, Dark Moon's mansions are actual mansions. Unlike, Luigi's Mansion 3's mansion, quote unquote, which is a hotel. It should have just been called Luigi's Hotel. And then in parentheses, Luigi's Mansion 3. And that gets me nervous because Luigi's Mansion 4 is gonna take place in like a car mechanic shop or a grocery store, and then they're gonna say Luigi's Mansion 4, but it's really taking place inside of a Walmart. You know what I mean? but overall, Dark Moon, if I had to rate it, I'ma give it a 5 out of 10. And I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. The biggest issues I have with this game, like I said, is mission structure, definitely. There are a lot of things, like a portrait ghost, the same basic enemies. I feel like if they weren't gonna have portrait ghosts in this game, they should have at least had more variety in basic ghosts, but they didn't, and that's another issue I had. Like, if you're gonna have the same 5-6 ghosts, don't just be the same 5-6 ghosts. Have more variety to the different aspects. Or no, they kind of try. They take the basic green ghosts and put like sunglasses on them, but that's still not different. And then it's like, oh, suck the shades off and then you can capture the ghost or whatever. That's not changing anything. That's just, and even in the Scare Scraper, like, it's, most of them are they're literally just reskinned of the basic ghosts. They're not different, they're literally just reskin of the basic ghosts. And I felt like an issue with Dark Moon was that it took too many shortcuts. Unlike the original, it felt like a complete game. The original, even though Dark Moon is far longer than the original game and the amount of time it has, it brings in so much more personality and so much more ideas and innovative concepts with its ghosts and ideas, and just overall being more creative in about, let's just say, 4 or 5 hours for the average player. Whereas Dark Moon, even though it's like 15, 16 hours, let's just say, they can't capture the same amount of detail and innovation as the original gives, and for me, everything about this game was worse. Well, not necessarily, like, I do think the Scare Scraper was pretty cool. Having 5 mansions, I thought was bad. The boot capturing is bad. Normal ghosts are bad. Boss ghosts are pretty disappointing. Besides, like, one where you're on a snowmobile, but even then, that can be pretty annoying. Overall, yeah, it's just not a game for me, man. And I don't know if I'll ever. I probably will replay Dark Moon again at some point, but it's definitely gonna be the last game in the series or franchise that I'm going to replay. Sorry to Dark Moon lovers, but like I said, it's just not the game for me. And pretty sure it will never be the game for me. So yeah, overall my experience with Dark Moon was pretty bad, and yeah, things haven't really changed. It has grown on me slightly, but not much if I'm being honest. So now let's move on to the next game in the series, Luigi's Mansion Arcade. Now, I said I was going to be doing every game, but this one is more of a minor one because, you know, it's an arcade machine. And I've only, if I'm being honest, I've only played this about like 2-3 times. Because my closest Dave and Buster's to me is like over an hour away, which is, you know, pretty far. And I'm not just gonna go there to play a damn Luigi's Mansion game. And I'm pretty sure they've already got rid of it by now, but the Luigi's Mansion Arcade was released in mid-2015, and yeah, it's basically just a watered-down version of Dark Moon. There's really nothing much. There's honestly not much like thoughts and feelings people have on this, because, you know, it's just one of those little things where it's on the side, you know, so essentially it's like a sculpt of like a poltergeist inside, and then there's a nozzle and you use it. And I did think the first person perspective was pretty cool, and it would be cool to see a first person Luigi's Mansion game or like a first person mode in a future Luigi's Mansion game. I thought it was a pretty cool idea, but overall, you know, I thought it was just okay. You go around, you know, going through different rooms of Dark Moon's mansion, and it's, in a way, it's essentially like a auto-play Dark Moon in first person, since the game does the movement for you. You're just going around with a flashlight, and you're using to suck up the ghost, use like a trigger on the poltergeist holder itself. And there are boss ghosts in the game, or not, I mean, there are boss fights, quote unquote, in the arcade machine. There's King Boo at the end, obviously, but this, oh, and that I forgot to mention something in the Dark Moon segment. The King Boo boss fight I thought was worse, but also better in some ways. I thought it was better because it's just strictly King Boo. It's not using any other forms of Bowser, but visually appealing, the original definitely had it down. But I think gameplay wise and aspect wise, Dark Moon is better with its final boss fight. So, you know, you have all that. You have and then there's it's easy, medium, and hard. I thought they were pretty much the same thing. I guess the last level is kind of hard in a way, but it's still not insanely difficult. And it is 2 players, which up to 2 players can play it at a time. Yeah. It was just there to make money. Obviously, it was just something on the side. It's literally just a watered down version. And while I think it is a cool idea, there is just being a watered down version of Dark Moon, and it's an arcade machine. It only has like 34 levels. You know, it's not going to be the greatest thing to ever exist. So if I had to rate it, I give it a 5 out of 10. If I'm gonna give Dark Moon a 5.5 to a 6, then I'll give the arcade a 5 out of 10. Pretty average, mediocre machine, but it's cool in a way because it's ideas for the actual poltergeist in hand that you use to play throughout. Now moving on to the next game in the series, which is the Luigi's Mansion 1 remake for the Nintendo 3DS. Oh boy, this was a pretty disappointing sequel, to be honest, but here we have it, the Luigi's Mansion 3DS remake. Now, there are quite a bit of differences in this game compared to the original. First of all, it uses the models of Dark Moon rather than the original game, where the original game had its own unique model. I thought it was pretty unique, and looking back on it, I thought it was pretty cool. But you know, overall, it's in a way pretty much the same game, but kind of worse. The lighting is worse due to it, being on the 3DS. The lighting is worse. And the lighting glitch is finally fixed where people thought Luigi was hanging himself. But this is a case where I thought it would have been so much better if they just remade this to the Switch. There is amiibo support where if you scan an amiibo, you get health back or you get coins or, whatever the case may be, but nothing too special. There is a Circle Pad Pro compatibility, which I thought Dark Moon should have had. This also brings me back to Dark Moon, where an issue I had with it, this is more of a minor one though, where there was no option to have dual movement or dual sticks for movement is what I mean. In the original, the way it worked was that you use the left stick for moving Luigi and then the right stick for aiming your vacuum. And in Dark Moon, they did make it work, but I felt like they should have made the Circle Pad Pro compatible, or in a way to get two sticks on there without having to get, a new 3DS or a new 3DS XL. And, but I'm glad that they gave the remake for the original that support to give it more of that feeling for it. There are no more analog triggers for it. There is co-op in this game, but the co-op from my experience is very bad. It is very laggy and is overall just not a fun time, for me at least. I know you maybe had a better experience with it, but for me it just didn't work out. And there's no online play, which I absolutely hated when I first saw it, because it was like, okay, because they had online play in Dark Moon with Scarescraper. So my thought process was like, if they had online play here, or if they had online play in Dark Moon Scarescraper, why can't they have online play in here? And that's because this is a more simpler game than Dark Moon, than with Scarescraper and retrospective. Also, the ghosts, this is another problem that I have with it, is that the ghosts look more like plastic in this one. Like, in the original, they look, they actually look transparent, they look a lot better, but in the 3DS remake, they look like plastic. And I get it, it's a disadvantage, the 3DS with its capabilities and functions, but again, more of a reason why it should have been on the Switch. But of course, this was strictly due to a placeholder for the game, but obviously I'm pretty guaranteed it was a cash out for taking advantage on the success of the franchise at that point, and people excited for the third game, so they saw their opportunity and they took it with the form of this remake. But overall, there's not too much things that I have complaints with. I just think that if they were going to add a co-op mode, they should have incorporated online play into it. Obviously, the lighting and then the way the ghosts look just make it more apparent why it should have been ported to the Switch instead. But overall, I would have to say I would give the remake a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6.5 out of 10. But overall, it's just the worst time. But if this is the only way you can play the original, then so be it. It still has that original vibe. The atmosphere is a million times better than Dark Moon, because of course it is off the original. It's all there. The hidden mansion is actually more on keen with the PAL hidden mansion, or the European hidden mansion, where it's a lot harder. And only thing that's really not there is that there's no way, or it's not reversed, it's not mirrored like in the European hidden mansion where it is mirrored. That's just more of a minor side note. I did think the mirror idea was cool, but what are you gonna do? But yeah, overall, they do give you an option for the basic flashlight or the strobe light like in Dark Moon. So if you're more used to the original, then you're going to opt for more of the normal flashlight, obviously. But the strobe light in Dark Moon, if you're more used to Dark Moon, or Dark Moon was the first game you played, I'm assuming, then you would want to use the strobe light in that case. But for me, Of course, I went with the original flashlight. The strobe light I think is okay, but overall I like the strategy of a normal flashlight because you actually have to plan out more of your of where you want to shine your light from, rather than the strobe light, which has a more effective amount where the amount of area it takes up, and it just flashes a bunch of ghosts. Whereas with the flashlight, you actually have to aim and choose where you want it to go in order to capture multiple ghosts at once. So yeah, overall, the 3DS remake, I'm gonna give it a 6.5, 6 out of 10. And yeah, overall, for me, it was a disappointing sequel going off the original for the GameCube, but it's still a good addition if you have no other option to playing the original. So now moving on to the most recent in the series, which is Luigi's Mansion 3, released October 31st, 2019 for the Nintendo Switch. Alright, so now it is time to talk about the final game in the series, which is Luigi's Mansion 3. And this is the most complex in the series. All of the main issues I had with Dark Moon are pretty much gone. The game is fluent, it's not choppy. There's no more mission structure. And overall, the boos, in my opinion, are the most satisfying to capture in this game because you just slam them on the ground, and I love that. And the skyscraper, they made it a bit more massive. There's not as much boss ghosts to collect in this game, but they are a bit more complex, and there are new moves in this game. There's the plunger shot, the burst, and the slam feature, and also Luigi, which Luigi was introduced in the 3DS remake for the co-op, but the skyscraper this time again has online play. It has dual sticks for that ability, and overall I love the ideas. The torture ghosts are finally brought back in some way. They still don't have as much personality as the original gave them, but they still have a great they still have their own personalities to them. There's a knight, there's a pianist, I'm only gonna name a few. There's the DJ, King Boo, of course, and there's the gardenist, the Boiler Works character or boss fight, and each one uses their own distinctive traits to fight off Luigi. There's also one where it's a giant dinosaur, and you have to but it's really a caveman ghost, which I think is a really cool idea. I love the ideas that there are in this game, but overall I thought it was very fun to go through this game, trying to find every little secret, every little gem. And this is also the longest Luigi's Mansion game, including everything. This game, with the skyscraper and everything, this is the most complex and longest game in the series. I feel like they should have called it Luigi's Hotel, or in parentheses put Luigi's Mansion 3 Hotel Edition or something like that, because it's not a mansion, it's a whole hotel. And the way this works is that Luigi goes in a different level of the elevator, and whenever he defeats a boss ghost / portrait ghost, then he obtains a new elevator button, which gives him access to a new floor. Rinse and repeat, similar to how in the original game, when you defeat a boss ghost, they drop you a key, which then you use to go into the next area. And the slamming, this is something I would like to bring up, is that the slamming, I do feel like, is slightly overpowered with the way you can just slam it into other ghosts, unlike the original and even Dark Moon, where you actually had to plan out more where your abilities and who you want to capture first, but now you can just slam them into each other. The ghost designs are pretty much a rip from Dark Moon. Like, a lot of the ghost designs are from Dark Moon. You have the angry one, the minion ones. They all sound like minions now, unlike the original, like I said, which gave them actual personality, which is why I like them more. But no, overall, I think the premise is the premise is slightly different and better. With this time, Luigi is going to, it's like a vacation rather than, them meeting up or whatever. In Dark Moon, it's more random with the way it starts off. Luigi gets sucked into the TV or whatever, like Poltergeist. And in the original, of course, it was as simple as trying to find Mario. But this time, Luigi, he's the only one that manages to escape from King Boo, where King Boo tricks Luigi, Mario, Peach, and Toad, and then Peach, Mario, and Toad get captured all into paintings. So it's not just Mario this time, and now Luigi has to go and rescue everybody. And this is a minor side note, but I still find it weird how after 3 games, Luigi is still scared of facing off against King Boo and all the ghosts. You feel like he would change slightly, or at least not be as scared. The original makes sense, since that was like really the first time that he encountered ghosts like that, or any time in the Mario games, for example. But but in the original, in Dark Moon and 3, he's still scared, which I find slightly weird. And the burst ability can be used to push ghosts back or push them away. The plunger you use to, kind of like a grapple, where you use to move items or objects out of the way. You can use them to pull away any objects or shields or whatever that the ghosts have, to pull them away. And there's also the new Scream Park mode. Now, I haven't played it much, but from what I've played, I think it was okay. I do like the minigames slightly, but I feel like that should be more for like a Mario Party thing and not really a Luigi's Mansion thing. But for what they tried to do with it, I thought was pretty cool. Only problem I have with it is that there wasn't that much content for a Scream Park, and I feel like if they do try that again, then they should try giving more content out for it. And there's also Luigi, which you use to complete puzzles with. There are even more puzzles in this game. You use Luigi to fight some fights, actually, or to help you with some fights. Like Luigi, when you use it to fight Helen Gravely, which is pretty much she's pretty much King Boo's sidekick, or quote unquote sidekick, because King Boo betrays her in the end. Or it's King Boo though, so I'm pretty sure he was literally just using her. There was no sidekick, it was just using her. But you use Luigi to turn off like shields or force fields she has around, and I thought that was pretty cool. And you have to plan out where you're going to keep Luigi, because Luigi is unconscious whenever Luigi is out if you're playing single player. But and then use Luigi to fight some bosses for you. Actually, like there's a Paul Blart themed boss where it's a mall cop, and you have to use Luigi to fight off the ghost in order to kill him off. And there are exceptions where there's one ghost in particular named Morty, where he's like a film novelist or film director, and you go through, the floor is essentially just going through different production themed areas, which I think are very cool, and some of them are actually pretty unique, and you use it to create a movie, a Godzilla themed movie, where it's just a normal ghost trapped inside, but you use Luigi to fight off the Godzilla monster, quote unquote. and you use Luigi to help you with the chef boss as well, with trying to fight, trying to blow away the smoke that the chef causes. And it's just a lot more personality in this game compared to Dark Moon. Dark Moon felt definitely very shallow compared to what 3 did, and I'm glad that they brought 3 back with having a lot more personality and detail compared to Dark Moon, which felt like it didn't have much and is on more of a similar way with the original, how it portrays its characters and ghosts. And overall, especially with Morty, and you don't even kill him if you don't want to. If you don't want to kill him, then you don't have to. But if you do, then I'm pretty sure you get an achievement. This game does have its own achievement system, and overall, I thought it was pretty unique, and I think that they should bring it back, because Nintendo's not going to give us normal achievements like how Xbox and PlayStation does it, or Steam does it. So might as well have it. The games should have their own achievement systems, and Luigi Mansion 3 has a pretty unique system where it's like, oh, collect this many gems or this much money, or capture this many ghosts and whatnot. And overall, this is most likely the longest game in the series, yeah. And there's also in the boiler level, you go around on a duck, you're going through it in a duck floaty, and again, just very creative with the ideas here, and I can't wait to see what they do for Luigi's Mansion 4 in that aspect of, creative ideas and innovation. And that's a big reason why I love this Mario spin-off series, and why it's my favorite, because it's like every game they try to innovate. Even in Dark Moon, they tried to innovate with ideas. And the Luigi Mansion series has always been a series where, they're always trying to improve. They're not going to let you down. Besides Dark Moon, they're not going to let you down or disappoint you really. And, overall, I'm just very excited to see what's to come for the franchise and the series for Luigi's Mansion as a whole. And I like it because it's an adventure designed specifically for him, and it's not designed for Mario or anyone else. It's strictly for Luigi, and this is where Luigi started to really shine and become his own character, where instead of being known as Green Mario, he is now known as the ghost hunting or the ghost busting brother, known as Luigi, instead of being Green Mario or Player 2. And there are exceptions where they made Super Luigi U, and that was just something that they did for the year of Luigi. By the way, 2023 should have been the year of Luigi 2. I don't know what Nintendo is doing. This should have been the year of Luigi 2. It's 2023. This should have been the second year of Luigi, but oh well. I guess Nintendo just hates Luigi that much, I guess. But overall, this is a franchise and series that, even if I don't like Dark Moon that much, or even if I, thought the remake was slightly disappointing, it still doesn't change the fact that these are some games that have always just stuck with me, and they will continue to stick with me, because no matter how many years have passed, no matter how much time has passed, I'll still go back to the original. I'll still play Dark Moon at times if I want to, and then I'll revisit 3 as well. And this is how it felt, especially with the original, where it's like no matter how many times I play these games, I just don't get tired of them. Whereas some other games like Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi and those spin-off series, and even the Mario games in general, can just feel pretty dry and just not the same compared to how Luigi's Mansion feels. And overall, I just love that how this series or franchise, it just leaves you with wanting more. And it's crazy that only with 3 main games in the series, I still think that it's one of the greatest trilogies that Nintendo has ever came up with, even including Dark Moon, because it's very unique. There's no Mario spin-off series or any video game series really like it. And say what you will, that there's only very few games, or their games are pretty short or whatnot, or they're not that difficult, it still gives you a good taste and a good feeling after you complete the games, with the amount of emotion and passion that you can feel when playing it. Just that ending cutscene in the first game where Luigi cries tears while laughing at Mario falling out of the vent. It shows that Luigi is, thankful, and he's joyful, and just the amount of emotion that these games have shown, and how in the third game they're all hugging, they're all happy. It's just a different feeling. But if I had to rank Luigi's Mansion 3, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10, making it my second ranked game. So if I had to rank these one more time: 5, Luigi's Mansion Arcade, since it's just a watered down version of Dark Moon; 4, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon; 3, the Luigi's Mansion 3DS remake; 2, the Luigi's Mansion 3; and number 1 will 100% and will always be the original. Like I said in my ranking, there's just no game that will top this one. And I've been talking for an hour straight about these 5 games, but it's just, or 4 games, but it just gives me a different feeling. And just the way Luigi interacts with objects, sucks on everything, blows on everything, the personality with Boo's. This also gave Boo's a lot more personality, with how each of them have their own different names and whatnot, and it's just a different feeling. So overall, if I had to rank the entire franchise or series out of 10, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10 for all the games average. So yeah, guys, overall, there you have it. That is my basically overview of the entire Luigi's Mansion franchise / series. Let me know what you think of the whole franchise or series of Luigi's Mansion. Would you like to see more videos like this, long videos where they're like an hour long? Let me know in the comments what you think about them. And yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this. And yeah, like I said, what do you think of the series or franchise? What would you have done differently with the games? What are your pros and cons with the games? What was your experience like? Because I like to interact with you guys, and even if I don't post often or don't post a lot, it still means a lot to me for anyone that watches my videos, likes them, subscribes to the channel, comments. It just gives a good feeling to me. And yeah, thank you guys for showing me any support or giving me support on my videos. So yeah, I will see you all in the next video, which more than likely won't be as long, or maybe it will, depends on if you guys want to see this again. So yeah, peace out.